Why does a man pull back right when his emotions reach their peak intensity? Why does he disappear inside himself just as the connection deepens dramatically? And why does he show this pattern especially with the women he genuinely values most? Carl Jung devoted years to exploring the masculine soul and revealed a surprising truth. Men do not run from challenging companions. They do not avoid conflict. They do not shy away from intricacy. Take note here. They withdraw from one unique feature in a woman, and this quality often represents what you consider your biggest strength. Most women fail to understand what really happens within a man when he builds emotional walls. They suppose he lacks readiness. Listen closely now. They assume he dreads lasting bonds. They imagine he suffers from emotional immaturity. But Jung pinpointed the true mental dynamic behind it. A man who feels strong affection for you steps back not due to apathy or unreadiness for commitment. He builds distance because you compel him to confront an element he has buried throughout his existence. You activate a mental mechanism in him that Jung labeled as the most dangerous phase in a man's development. And here comes the difficult truth. Every dating strategy you have learned only intensifies the problem. Every piece of advice, such as grant him room, is mistaken. Every idea, like remain enigmatic, falls short. Every notion, such as allow him to chase you, proves completely off because nobody has revealed the facts of profound mental patterns. What exactly unfolds in his inner mind when he meets a woman such as yourself? No one has detailed why men avoid exactly the women who impact them strongest. No one has shown why your genuine emotional openness alarms him, and no one has proven that what you see as a flaw inside you serves as your supreme mental power. Jung discovered that a particular feature in some women causes men to feel unconscious fear, not since the feature seems bad, but since it holds such force that it pushes a man to face his hidden core. And most men remain unprepared for such a meeting. In the coming minutes, you will understand what takes place in a man's mind when he finds a woman possessing this exact attribute. You will learn why he draws away even when he adores you, maybe precisely since he adores you. You will absorb the Jungian lens that clarifies why emotional richness creates separation in men. And you will gain a mental strategy that transforms the whole picture. Not to control him, not to play tricks, but to truly see what really stirs in his thoughts when he closes off emotionally. But I need to warn you, this knowledge proves challenging because you will see he does not escape from you. He escapes from the individual he would need to transform into alongside you. He avoids his personal emotional power that you draw forth from within. And the paradox lies in how the more genuine you become, the more you show your true nature, the more you make him notice his personal broken pieces. Jung named this the mirror of the unconscious. You reflect toward him all that he has neglected to unite inside his being. And that explains why he keeps his separation from you. Not since you prove overwhelming, not since you seem overly strong, not since you appear overly feeling, but since you stand whole. And his own lack of unity turns unbearable near you. So, if you feel prepared to understand why men create distance, especially from the women they hold dearest, let us examine what Carl Jung revealed about the masculine mind and what nobody has previously told you about the profound mental world of men. Before continuing, I ask you to complete one essential task. If what I have shared resonates powerfully within you, if you sense that you represent exactly the woman who presents men with their full potential, then enter one word in the comments immediately. Reflection. Why does this matter so much? Jung learned that growth arrives not solely via knowledge, but via purposeful deeds. By entering this word, you spark a mental shift inside yourself. You declare to your deeper mind, I stand prepared to see the reality. I stand prepared to grasp what truly unfolds. This simple act of typing reflection forms the initial move toward internalizing this knowledge. It feels like sealing an agreement with your personal unconscious. Jung described this as the aware participation in one's personal path of individuation. Most women take in details without movement. They view videos, nod along, find it compelling, and then no change enters their daily lives. But the women who genuinely transform, who completely reshape their romantic habits, represent those who participate fully, who make conscious choices, who declare to everyone, "I do not appear just to watch. I appear to transform." When you enter reflection in the comments, 3 effects happen on a mental plane. First, you validate to yourself that this knowledge rings true. You accept your personal story. Second, you send a signal to your unconscious that you feel ready to accept this force inside you, so you stop viewing yourself as excessive or overly strong. Third, you connect with thousands of fellow women in this community who face the identical challenge, who grasp what it involves to confront a man through your authenticity, who recognize the sensation of being cherished and evaded at once. Check the comments. Do you notice how many women have already entered reflection? These represent the women who understand. These represent the women who no longer suffer as victims of their romantic patterns, but conscious creators of their own world. And here comes the powerful element. When you enter reflection, you train your mind to notice more clearly the cues in your personal love life. You will begin spotting when you activate his responses. You will recognize when he runs from his personal richness. This deliberate awareness separates the women who repeat identical patterns from the women who break those cycles and build real, profound links with men prepared for development. So enter reflection in the comments immediately. Not for me, not for this space, but for yourself, as a declaration to existence that you feel prepared to see the reality and claim your mental power. Complete it now before advancing, since what I share afterward will only work for women who completed this initial conscious move. Women who merely view without doing will learn the technique, but it will fail to settle in their deeper mind. But for the women who entered reflection, all that comes next will create enormous mental effect. So do you feel ready? Wonderful. If you entered reflection, then you stand prepared for what lies ahead. Let me begin by explaining one aspect about the masculine mind that most women overlook and that most men themselves fail to recognize. Carl Jung discovered that every man holds a feminine aspect inside himself. He called it anima. This remains no metaphor, no symbol. It forms a real mental structure present in every man. The anima holds everything a man regards in himself as feminine and has therefore rejected from his aware self. His emotions, his sensitivity, his longing for profound closeness, his ability to sense instead of merely examine. From the time a young boy learns, boys don't cry or stay strong or avoid weakness, he begins cutting himself from parts of his true nature. These parts do not disappear. They sink into his unconscious. They turn into anima. And here the intrigue starts. This repressed element gets projected onto women, especially onto the women he cherishes, but not onto every woman equally. Most women activate his anima merely on the surface. They fulfill a role. They offer a culturally approved image of femininity. His mask engages with their mask, and all stays surface level. These bonds feel secure for him, simple, controllable. But then he meets you, and you differ completely. You refuse to perform a role. You avoid being feminine merely in a showy manner. You move through life with an emotional honesty that stands rare. You exist unified, whole, or at least advancing deliberately toward that condition of existence. Jung would note you have advanced on your path of individuation. You avoid concealing behind a mask. You avoid staging femininity. You live it from deep within. And that marks exactly where the tension starts. Because when a man finds a woman who feels truly complete inside herself, something deep and unsettling stirs in his mind. His anima does not merely shift, it fully awakens in your company. He notices everything he has rejected inside himself, the emotions he never allowed himself to feel, the openness he trained himself to conceal, the yearning for richness he previously called weakness. You turn into the active reflection of the pieces of his spirit that he has never risked exploring. And it is during that instant that fear emerges. Many women misunderstand this dread. They suppose he fears commitment, lacks emotional access, remains attached to an old relationship, or simply struggles with nearness. But the reality lies far deeper. He does not run from you, he runs from himself, from the aspects of his inner realm that your company brings forward. Jung portrayed this meeting with the anima as one of the most alarming yet transformative events in a man's life. It terrifies him because it forces him to question the self he constructed over years. He learns he consists of more than logic, control, and strength. He consists of feeling, longing, and tenderness. For a man who linked strength to emotional control and formed his complete self-view around dominance, this discovery feels profoundly disturbing. So he retreats, not because his care lacks power, but because it holds excessive power. The stronger his bond, the more powerfully you awaken his anima. The more his anima awakens, the more sharply he sees his personal missing unity. And the more he notices his lack of completeness, the greater his dread grows. Separation turns into his instinctive protection. This represents the mental pattern most women never observe, and most dating advice totally misunderstands. You have heard to offer him room, but in his inner realm, that merely supports his dread, proving that pulling away feels secure and that he avoids facing anything. You have heard to stay enigmatic, but enigma helps only men stuck in surface projections. A man whose anima you awakened cannot pursue. He already feels submerged, struggling to flee his personal emotional richness. You have heard to appear distant and unfeeling, but your honesty represents the exact element that reached him, the exact element that resonated inside him unlike anything before. If you abruptly begin showing emotional detachment, you lose the energy that originally drew him to you. A Jungian specialist would note that this marks the instant when you abandon your path of development and slip into a fake mask. And the moment you do so, you resemble every prior woman in his past, secure yet lacking true meaning. So the true question becomes, what serves as the response? How do you manage a condition where your biggest strength, your emotional unity, also functions as the exact element pushing him away? This is precisely what demands understanding. Now first you must accept that 3 groups of men exist, and each responds uniquely to a woman such as you. The first group includes the man fully stuck in his mask. His anima lies hidden so deeply that he ignores its presence. When his anima activates, he runs and never returns. He lacks readiness for growth. The second group includes the man who senses his anima exists, yet fears it. He draws back but returns repeatedly. He desires connection with you, but struggles to sustain closeness. He cherishes you, but dreads what you awaken inside him. This man pauses at the edge of change. The process of change needs something quite precise from your nature. The third group of men includes those who have started the path of individuation, one who accepts his anima and has effectively blended his emotional world into his self. This represents the man who avoids retreating. He moves toward you exactly due to your deep richness, not despite it. The key question stays: which kind of man do you face now? Even more vital, how do you manage a situation involving the second kind? This represents the man who treasures you while also retreating, who comes close only to close off, who feels deep emotions yet selects emotional separation. This marks where the Jungian view grows especially strong, because the answer involves neither ending the bond nor chasing him. It represents something far more transformative. It involves realizing you cannot act as his healer, but you can act as his mirror. A very precise technique exists for this, one that changes the full interaction. Before discussing it, you need clear proof, real signals that verify you truly activated his anima and that he flees from his personal hidden side instead of from you. Jung noted 3 specific actions that appear in a man when a woman awakens him. If you notice these signals, you can trust that you represent no problem in the dynamic. You represent the trigger for a confrontation he needs with his personal spirit. The first signal involves swinging between admiration and retreat. A man whose anima stirred will at once elevate you highly and build separation. He may say that you differ from anyone he ever met, or that you understand his spirit in a unique manner. Yet often within the next day or week, he shifts to emotional detachment and turns distant. Most women feel sudden anxiety, wondering what error they made. Yet nothing actually broke. What happened involves his projection of the anima growing too strong and overpowering. Jung explained that when a man elevates a woman, he assigns all the unlived and repressed parts of his personal mind onto her. He stops seeing an ordinary person. He sees a goddess, an inspiration, or the actual form of the ideal feminine essence. This soon turns unbearable because unconsciously he senses that if she appears this complete, then his personal broken self stands exposed. Separation acts as his way to reduce the strength of that projection. It represents no planned trick or control, but a basic mental protection. What truly counts involves this. If he comes back often, if he builds distance yet always returns, then he represents a man who deeply wishes to unite his anima. He simply misses the words to seek your support. The second signal involves emotional overload. He shares feelings like feeling flooded by what you awaken inside him, or experiencing sensations he cannot manage. Women often view this from a view of passion or worry, but what he truly admits involves you activating his shadow. In the world of Jungian thought, the shadow does not equal darkness. It simply means everything we have hidden since we judged it improper. For men, this shadow often connects to sensitivity and a desire for true soul-deep closeness instead of mere physical nearness. When he admits he cannot manage his emotions, he actually recognizes that his complete mental structure collapses in your company. This marks a huge event that rarely occurs with random people. It happens only when a woman feels so real that she breaks through his mask to reach his center. The difficulty starts when women reply with stronger feelings, trying to calm or comfort him, which frequently worsens things by proving his biggest dread that he lacks strength and surrendered control. A man who thinks he lost hold will naturally struggle to regain it, often via emotional retreat. Therefore, when he admits feeling overwhelmed, accept the reality of it, but avoid chasing him. As Jung might advise, permit him to follow his personal individuation. You can witness it, but you cannot complete the work for him. The third signal involves a repeating pattern of closeness and retreat. This represents the most subtle yet telling proof. He approaches nearer. The link strengthens and real closeness develops. He shares concealed parts of himself. Yet at the peak of this bond, he retreats. Not fully, but he turns surface-oriented. His messages shorten. He stays physically available, but his emotional richness fades. Jung would see this as returning to the mask. He goes back to the culturally secure version of himself, since the real self you saw feels too risky. If you watch carefully, you will notice that during this retreat time, he runs a test. He checks whether you accept his surface mask or if you genuinely cherish his full self. Most women fail this check by attempting to pull the richness back, questioning what troubles him. This serves as the weakest reply because it tells him that his emotional openness remains needed for your balance, which strengthens his dread of carrying another's happiness. The Jungian reply differs completely. You accept the retreat and honor it, but you refuse to abandon your personal richness. You refuse to dim your glow to fit his surface condition. You remain whole and real, staying linked to your personal spirit without requiring him to join you there. This marks the line between appearing desperate and acting as a mirror. Desperate says, "Return to me," while acting as a mirror says, "I stay here in my richness, and you know the path back when prepared." This marks where real transformation happens. A man whose anima awakened cannot tolerate surface living long when he knows true richness stays available. He might try staying distant, or persuade himself he needs nothing, but his spirit craves the unity that only this bond supplies. Therefore, he returns not due to tricks, but because his personal mind requires it.